Hello and welcome to the Brothers Slam. This is Cam and we're diving into the first official Aeon Trespass 12 Sins of Heracles update for the year, which is very exciting. I decided to not actually read this one ahead of time, so I'll be going in blind. I think I noted this in the last video, but as you can see by this little tiny sparse background behind me, the place is very empty. Wife and I are moving into a home, which is very exciting. It definitely has changed the plans for some of the gameplay things that I've been doing on the channel lately. So I think the next Kingdom Death campaign will probably start taking place in a month, maybe 2 months. We'll see. Moving house to a bigger place. Got to do some renos. Do not know how to do renos, so it's going to be a learning experience. But anyways, without further ado, let's dive into update 66. Enter Anteios, which I'm totally pronouncing wrong. Rise of the Arsenal, Justice, Cosmatos Progress, Reworks, Journey, Cities, Encounters, VO app, and a new community. That is a mouthful of some very exciting things. Hey guys and gals, I'm coming to the tail end of an ITU update marathon. Normandy, then Kingdoms Forlorn, and now Aeon Trespass. I encourage you to pop into those sister pages because we had some huge news to share, like high-profile hires and the unboxing of Kingdom Forlorn's core game digital copy, as well as the 10,000 Succulent Fears expansion. Digital copy is like a digital print. It's not a actual like in the computer, inside the computer for anyone who's seen Zoolander. I've also done some coverage videos for all those updates. They are very exciting indeed. On that note, starting in March, we're adjusting the update schedule for each of our games. This is something that's been covered in the last 2 updates, so we're just going to go skip ahead from that. With that, let's move on to what's truly important, the game. With fulfillment of the last wave practically finished, yes, UK, I know, more on that later in the update. In these updates, we'll focus squarely on 12 Sins of Heracles content, and there is so much content. The hour grows late, and Heracles decides to murder the gods. Prophet Tiresias. Yeah, apparently we'll read into it a little bit. One thing I find kind of funny is, I guess it is valid. People were like, hey, this is the 12 Sins of Heracles campaign. Why haven't you shown any 12 Sins of Heracles? And it's because they were trying to deliver the last wave and didn't want to buzzkill that last wave. So from here on out, it's basically all going to be Sins of Heracles, which is exciting. A bunch of new cool things. Some cool city art there of something. New campaign structure. The paragraph name doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but it's the closest to what this will be about. Several updates ago, I mentioned my work on the new journey system, and I'll come to that, but the changes to how TSOH will flow are more substantial than that. Each cycle of ATO is constructed differently, but they all share a common core, a timeline that oscillates around 80 in-game days and a schedule of timeline battles and technology breakthroughs. You face regional primordials, with a third, more powerful one serving as the final boss. You're pursued by a relentless adversary, whose power rivals that of the boss, or higher. You race to resolve the cycle story before doom counts down the progress of evil, from which there is no recourse. Sins of Heracles does away with all that. There is no timeline, there are annals, in which you can count down some special timed events. Regular battles are no longer tracked on it, though, and they don't happen on such a strict schedule as before. Now, they are regulated by the growing threat stat, tracked on the brand new Oikos Triskelion. Interesting. Moreover, what constitutes a day changes. The Argo is enormous, a state-of-the-art ship that can cut through waves at speeds belying its size. The Heracleides journey on foot, in mortal bodies to avoid detection. Thus, they cover much less ground. On the one hand, this is reflected by the smaller regional maps. On the other, the new point-to-point journey system. Suffice to say, revealing a new map tile no longer counts as a day passing. Interesting. In a given region, you're facing a single regional primordial along with an adversary, a Typhon, and well, we'll get to that next time. Each seasonal campaign is shorter than a cycle, though 3 campaigns constitute much more than that. A jam-packed with more things to do on the map, in battles, and with your character progression. The primordial still goes to level 4, which means everything evolves quicker. More things to do on the map. That was a critique of the current base original game, is that the map exploration doesn't do too much. I think it's fun. It's a nice gameplay loop, and all the stories and things are cool, and it's only been through cycle 1. Yeah, I've had no issues with it, but that is a critique that is online, so cool to see that there's more things to do on the map and maybe make it more engaging. Again, no personal issues with it, but cool that they're listening to that feedback. This also influences the power levels of the various primordials. A season is much wider than a cycle. For example, some summer primordials are the equivalent of cycle 1s, while others of cycle 2s. This also means that Sins of Heracles power ends its power curve higher than ATO's 5 cycles. A season much wider than a cycle. For example, some summer primordials are the equivalent of cycle 1s, while others of cycle 2s. Okay, I misunderstood that when I read it. So basically, some of the summer primordials are cycle 1 equivalents from base game Anteios, and some are cycle 2. So that is a huge power jump. I assume we are going to be getting into cycle 2 realistically probably the next month or 2 here as well. Looking forward to that. It's going to be tough jumping into the new cycle after not playing for a couple of months. That'll be fun. But apparently there is a steeper difficulty curve for sure. So that'll be interesting. I've mentioned the changes to crafting and the in-game economy many times now. Carcass delves rule. So we won't be dwelling on them here. Finally, there are no more separate Doom cards. It's all about story cards, which will now offer additional branching paths for major choices that will make your campaigns flow drastically differently. Doom is still a stat, by the way, and it still measures the progress of evil. It just influences your main story points more tightly, offering evenly balanced, albeit dark, paths through our stories. That sounds good too. So similar boat here. I loved the Cycle 1 story. It's a linear story, but from my playthrough, I never once saw any clear indications of like illusion of choice, if that makes sense. Where, for example, both routes lead to the same thing, no matter which way you take it, which is a first for a story-based game for me. Like, I really enjoyed Oathsworn, but there was a lot of that illusion of choice where no matter what you chose, even though what you chose is very different, it leads to the same result. And I get it, like, especially in games like that when there is so much choice, like you kind of have to have some, but just that it was so often, I guess. And even if this story in Cycle 1 is like there's a set beginning, middle, and end, and you take the same path to get there, never felt like I saw the illusion of choice, if that makes sense. So I think that this is cool in providing like extra variables to play within and different outcomes, kind of similar to what they're doing with Kingdoms Forlorn, the Night Tales, how you never technically lose, you just have different story outcomes, is really cool. I can only imagine the size of the flowchart behind the scenes for their writing in this. So that's cool to see. Okay, there's a new way to use progress tokens that will fight for your attention with the Inward Odyssey equivalent. There is Oikos Rage, joining Oikos Fate and Threat on the new Triskelion. This is such a neat little change. A Triskelion for the most malleable campaign stats. There is so much more. Okay, so all those things sound awesome to me. Just as a summary, it's basically just showing that they've listened to feedback from the first game, and are improving upon it, which is great. The first game to me, in my mind, is freaking fantastic. And if they're continuing to iterate, like that's wonderful. I think each of ITU games does this. Each of their games, so ATO, Kingdoms Forlorn, and Enormity, they're not the same games. They have some of the same principles, and I'd say KF and ATO are more similar. But each one evolves, and even the things that are similar do change. So it's one of my favorite things about the company, and I'm stoked to see how this differs from the first. Just after reading this, that sounds great. The Mascaran Arsenal. Okay, that looks freaking sick. There is so much new and so much reworked. I know some of you were not fond of the Girdle Phalanx illustration and miniature. Among others, I wasn't a fan either. It did not convey the raw power, the brutality of the Nietzschean regime, the mercilessness. It was an old design pre-ATO campaign from 2028, and I thought we could do better. Okay, so the Girdle Phalanx is actually one I didn't mind. It wasn't bad. Like I made a BGG post about my thoughts on all the sculpts, and it was one that I thought was fine. This art, though, in comparison to the old art, looks way better. That looks freaking sick. I am curious too, because I'm pretty sure I remembered Marcin commenting that all of the art was for all of the ATO stuff was done at the same time. So my assumption is when the original campaign launched in 2019 or whatever, all of it was really well received. The minis and everything looked great. It was cool. But because this one's a few years later and just how much more dynamic sculpts have gotten, the original sculpts now came off as static, coupling that with like the lack of depth in the like how the sculpts were shown. I think had something to do with it too. So it's awesome that they're reworking things, and it's I don't know, it's a bummer in a way for them too, because I'm sure they were really stoked on the original ones at the time, and then there was a whole bunch of outcry about it. But the fact that they are updating and changing things, and kind of, I don't know if going with the times is really valid. Like maybe for the Maybe for the sculpts, not necessarily the art, because all of Aeteos' art is fantastic. But anyways, long way of saying this rework looks sweet. Model coming soon. And we did. Here's some of the design work that went into this rework, including early sketches and the search for form and what we've currently ended up on. Much more menacing, much grander, much more in line with the Cyclonus, which is the Laconian equivalent of the girdle. The girdle, it is of course a reference to one of Heracles' labors, the girdle of Hippolyta. I tried to incorporate a nod to each of the labors in the primordial names. Boar equals boar, get it, but girdle phalanx never did it for me. I've made an exception for the Cretan sarcophagus. It's twist. It's not a sarcophagus, it's a twist on that. Or would you like, we call that one the tarantula, get it? And I thought it was high time I did something with the girdle. And so, along with the rework comes a new, more fitting name, the Arsenal, the one-man army, the monstrous siege engine that brings the Nietzsche's enemies to their knees. Okay. Yeah, these sketches all look pretty sweet. And so my assumption is this is the one. No, that looks like a shield arm. Maybe that one, this one. I'm not too sure which is the original sculpt, but I do really like this. And this looks like a work in progress piece of art, but it is terrifying and I'm here for it. Yeah, those are really cool, and I do really like this. Yeah, big fan. It looks menacing as heck. Menacing as hair. Okay, Lelegian Justice of the Dead. And speaking of the Nietzschean Empire, the Cycles 2 new nemesis/adversary, the Lelegian Justice. I won't mince words. This was, to me, the worst primordial design we put out there. A strange, cartoonish mishmash of ill-fitted parts. Is a stone face grinning? Is it a rock lord? The old design had to go. Having had time to work on it with a new artist, we've arrived at something much closer to what I envisioned. Something inarguably ancient Greek, but alien, menacing. Stoic, but dangerous. Yeah, I'm kind of curious about bashing the old originals, because I seem to remember them defending them when things were put out before, but that's customer facing. Who knows what went on behind the scenes internally. So happy taking Marcin at face value. Okay, so some more cool sketches. Just have a little quick sip of coffee while we're looking at sketches. All these look creepy and cool. Some of the dead ends. Ooh, yep, that looks sweet. Yeah, alien indeed, but still rock-like for sure. I give you the new design for the Lelegian Justice, one that actually tells a story by simply looking at it. And it's accompanied by a small design update to boot. The Lelegian Justice's mechanics have now expanded. It retains its nemesis status, but can now replace the current Cycle 2 adversary, slotting neatly between the pursuer and the burden. And on that note, the Prime Nietzschean is officially getting a power bump to Cycle 3 levels, making him a formidable challenge even for those who defeated him in Cycle 2. This is so much better, it hurts. Cool, I really like this. This is fantastic looking art, really creepy, very alien, but also kind of still reminiscent of the original 2 Degree 2. Also cool that these add-ons are getting updated originally from the base pitch too, so having another adversary that you can slot in to fit between the pursuer and the burden. That sounds sweet. And then also Prime Nietzschean, who was a stretch goal if you were part of the campaign at a certain pledge level, and then also an add-on if you really wanted them. Bumped in strength sounds cool and terrifying also. Cool. Inverted Journey Paradigm. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, one exclamation mark. Wait. Hasn't he already talked about this already? Yes, I have. And I won't shut up about it because the system has blossomed so wonderfully in a new direction, but perfectly in line with what ATO strives to be. Interesting, engrossing, fulfilling. Travel is such a huge part of life, and it was even more so in the ancient times, when we couldn't just hop on a flight that wouldn't take us to the other side of the world in a matter of hours. Fantasy, as a genre, recognizes this. There's few stories that do not incorporate that element, or make it a central piece of the narrative. Looking at you, Lord of the Rings. The planning of the route, the time spent on the road, the little adventures and encounters and hardships, the unexpected detours and the camaraderie and bonds that all of them foster. Connecting the dots in our editor. Cool, yep, that art looks awesome, as is to be expected. And still, scarcely few games tackle this part of the quest storyline with the respect and involvement it deserves. And even though everyone knows the cliche of the journey being more important than the destination, usually, travel is relegated to the unwanted liminal space between two interesting points of story. I didn't want that. I wanted a journey system that players would engage with for its own sake, because it is fun, it is engaging, it is surprising, it is tactical. The voyage phase of ATO is great, but it is not as captivating or rewarding as the battles. I want the journey to be like that. That's fair. I really like the journey phase. I really like the battles too, but they're so in-depth and involved that doing them back-to-back feels kind of onerous. And then so having the journey breakup is really good, but obviously having a more involved, more engaging journey, even better. And I think we have it, an evolution of the hardship and opportunity system I've shown you before, with a point-to-point movement through wilderness and civilization with worthwhile exploration. Point-to-point. Okay, so connecting the dots, literally. Very, very cool. And I think I'd be curious if this is still relevant. They had, at least in the summer cycle, there was mechanics for if you're traveling the road, so case point to point on the white, or if you go off-road, which would be the orange kind of brown dots, which probably match the cycle color or something like that. So that's really cool. I like it. I wanted to do some like old school RPGs with like point to point hex map crawling, and this would scratch that itch quite wonderfully. Cool. Very, very cool. Okay, what did I get to? Right, so cities bustling with life, with their own actions, stories, and rumors, where you can take a breather before you chart your next foray. The cadence of a journey, it's going to be one of a kind. There's some more cool art. I think that's in the tall grass of the area. I thought it was fireworks for a sec, but I think it's the tall grass. Final, Anteios. Okay, let's move on to something controversial. I don't like Ladon, the tree inverted. I don't like its art piece, and I'm okay with its miniature. I don't like its genesis and its role in the Olympus Wastes, and its story. As a faceless monstrosity, it's kind of a bland antagonist, and we already have one on Hesperides Dragon, called the Hesperides Dragon incidentally. For Heracles to fight two dragons of the apples in short succession, Ladon stalking Herc from the garden to Olympus, it left me dissatisfied. And as I was writing the outline for the final chapter of 12 Sins, something hit me. One of the lesser characters I had was slowly making their way to the forefront to end up as one of the few antagonists that could go head-to-head with Heracles. Anteios, the immortal wrestler who drew power from Gaia herself, and who could not be defeated as long as he was connected to her. He became the perfect foil for Heracles in that last chapter as his dark mirror image, this last obstacle before he could dethrone his father and take his place. A face only a mother could love. That's some creepy, creepy art for sure. And it was kind of brilliant too, with Eurystheus serving as his mortal counterpart, and Anteios as this out-of-control titan, the largest we've seen so far. And so I made him. Ladon out, Anteios in. And I know that although Ladon was far from beloved, there were many loud voices asking us to change the design. There will be some of you out there who will mourn its loss. So do not despair, friends. This is such a colossal change for the better, both in art design, in mini design, gameplay design, and narrative. I'm just giddy thinking about it. Instead of a faceless monster, you will go against your father's last foe. And just like before, he stands between you and your desire. Will you endure this last test? Interesting. I think they actually kind of kept some of the art's idea of Ladon with the trees there. Interesting. So obviously big change. Story standpoint and stuff makes sense. Ladon I didn't mind. I kind of liked the mini and idea of the creature, but actually having it tied to the story instead of, I'm sure they would have tied Ladon to the story too. I didn't like the girders though. Like it just kind of took me out of, and I mean, like there's a bunch of really cool sci-fi stuff, but girders just kind of strike me as more modern, like mundane, and so it's kind of a weird creature, but I did like the plant aspects. I don't know if I love the look of this dude, honestly. It's a very dynamic piece of art, which I assume this will be what the miniature looks like. And I'm guessing the weapons are probably something to do with having a battle against Heracles, is my guess. Comparing this dude in this current work in progress art, so definitely keep work in progress in mind, to like the equivalent of Cycle 3 Primordials, and to be fair, Cycle 3 is very timey-wimey and kind of cosmic. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where this goes. The story aspect of it, that sounds great. It sounds really compelling. The miniature, nice and dynamic, but it just looks kind of mundane. Even though it is very creepy. But that's cool. Like, happy with them deciding to iterate and make things better. Obviously, this is a big change, but it's something that makes sense. And it's fine by me. Yeah, it would be cool if Ladon was incorporated some other way, but that's asking too much to have like another full minion and fight and everything. Who knows, though, maybe a extra adversary add-on during the store or something at some point. So just to reiterate, story aspect of this, love it. Art direction, it's work in progress. So my feedback there is, while it looks really dynamic, I don't know, I'd have to see a miniature sculpt to kind of get that 3D dimension vibe, but yeah, we'll leave off there. Okay, new encounter adventure. To go with your new campaign structure and journey, your path will be strewn with these bite-sized stories tied into lose, surprising narratives, probably loose, surprising narratives, offering unique challenges and rewards and showcasing the expanded skill system. A must if we were to have a truly free-form character progression. These encounters will draw you into a new, dangerous world of Sins of Heracles, one not curated of meetings with dignitaries like it was in ATO, but of violent run-ins in the wild. Note, these will still offer you control over your actions and will still engage your morality, just on a different, more personal level. And they will offer you the opportunity for additional gains, gated with a skill test. And let me tell you, these are not your ATO skill tests. You won't even roll the same dice. Remember, this new campaign structure and journey mechanic are designed to make the travel as exciting as the battles. Interesting. I think just in the point of keeping this update video not too long, I'm probably just gonna browse through this instead of reading through it thoroughly. Actually, balls to it. It's pretty short, and this video is probably already gonna be a long one. One night. Far from the lights of the city, night falls quick on Nemean steppes. You huddle together around a small campfire, eyes wearily darting to the dense wall of seagrass. Its blades so thick, long and sharp, they bleed the sky black. Only smugglers, rebels, and monsters dare cross it. Long after the last embers of the fire die out, your sentry catches movement among the blades. White, skull-shaped patterns gleam in timid moon's light. Death ants. Your body screams, ready to be torn up by powers you do not understand nor control. Your mind smolders. Rage begins to take over. You choose. Unchain and make short work of them as a titan. Pushing yourself an inch closer to the precipice, gain a danger. Or 2, resist the call. Face these monsters in the skins of mortals, endangering your flesh but not your soul. Lose a skull, which I don't know what it means. Then either way, a new day dawns to the broken carapace of the dead ants. Blood mixed with ambrosia painted a haunting daub across the walls of grey. And then you can either test wisdom or test will. So on a wisdom, in progress, the ant's thorax buckled underneath the weight of freshly caught lions. The trail is still fresh. Or plus the equivalent of crew would be my guess, looking at the symbol. You use the viscera fluids to mask your scent and throw off pursuit. Test will to gain some sort of thing with strength. Fighting back-to-back deepens your bond of trust. Or gain in progress, the ant's thorax buckles under the weight of freshly caught lions. The trail is still fresh. So basically, if you get a success on either of those tests, you can choose one of those two things. Work in progress. Cool. I mean, it's not reinventing anything here, but I guess it'll be the dice mechanic portion of it, which we're not seeing. And I do feel like almost every single adventure story-based game out there does say that they're reinventing skill checks and tests and such, and I don't know if that's ever really been the case, that they serve the same purpose. If there's examples where they are different, let me know. I would love to take a look. Okay, Primordial Spotlight. Cosmatos, the first Typhon. Oh, Cosmatos, you are so twisted and everyone loves you. I hinted at Cosmatos' devilry a few updates ago, but seeing the reception of the Doom of Pythagoras last time, fella. As I mentioned last time, Cosmatos is one of those primordials that withholds its true power. Just like adversaries, you'll have to defeat him twice, once with a playful trait and once without. And before I dive into the specifics, a few words on the Typhon. They're some of the hardest foes in all of Sins of Heracles. Think adversaries on steroids. The game assumes you'll be able to defeat an adversary after finishing a season, but victory over a Typhon is not assured. I need to actually look up the definition of Typhon, because I thought Typhon was a creature, but this seems more like it's a family or a genus of beings. So, to learn how the Cosmatos fight works, you need to understand one thing. Cosmatos is insane. He's cunning, but he's insane, and thusly unpredictable. The Titan cocks his massive head at an unnatural angle, and just sits there. Creepy. Playful. Apply the following modifiers to all Cosmatos attacks. -1 something, -1 something, to a minimum of 1. As long as this trait is active, the End of Hope trait is disabled. So End of Hope is a Pursuer trait. I'm assuming it's probably going to be the same because it's got the same name. Wildflower Sidestep. That text is a little bit too small to read. Spoilers galore below. Let's start with his wounds value from his primordial sheet. He doesn't have any. You have no idea how many wounds you need to deal to kill him. So, you don't know how to kill him. Period. You better figure that out though, because that's interesting. So we don't know how many wounds to kill him. That's a fun, interesting mechanic. Loser's Dance, Caterpillar on the leaf position. So a 2 and a 3. These are both body parts. So Caterpillar on the leaf position. Perform signature against the attacker. Wound, gruesome trick. Mood. Become sad. Switch places with another Titan. Okay, so kind of a trippy fight. That sounds, even just that one card is very interesting. Loser's Dance. Fail, gruesome trick. Wound, pull 5. Under your skin twice. Mood, serious. So whenever I see the term mood, I just immediately think of the card types in Kingdom Death, but I assume that moods will be mechanic just for this fight, maybe others too, who knows. Cosmatos doesn't play nice. Thanks to the Under Your Skin trait, he'll know how to get to you, regardless of the region you face him. In summer, he'll dish out despair, in spring, rage, you get the picture. And his targeting, reflecting his mood, is tied to the last wound dealt, which, if you're not careful, can make him fixate on the least likely of you. The more wounds you deal, the more unpredictable his moods. You don't want him serious, although his attacks patch a punch even if he's forgiving. So, going on the offensive is no less tricky. If you don't position carefully, he'll dodge your attack completely, and if you fail to hit him, you will get punished with a fail response from the last revealed BP. Did I mention his BPs generally don't represent body parts? Oh yeah, indeed. So yeah, body part, Loser's Dance, Caterpillar. Interesting. Very, very interesting. The party doesn't stop there. As a Typhon/Titan, Cosmatos acts in the Titan round, just like Titan X. Hey, that's a spoiler. That's a good one. Cutting down on your opportunities to use responses like Reflex. Moreover, Cosmatos has a separate... I think that's a spoiler. I don't know. It could have been an update from years ago. Cosmatos has a separate insane schemes deck, which he'll use to confound and break you. He'll steal your weapons, he'll play dead, he'll perform the most dastardly action I could come up with to date, gruesome trick. You'll have to see it to believe it, which is one of his many secret traits. He's kind of insane. He's just the first of the 4 Typhons stalking you. What will Kaimos be like? Stick around with the updates to find out. And then these look like some action cards of his. So the Butcher's Knife. Art's awesome. I love all the arts on the card. Mood. Pretty target close to Titan. Cool stuff. God's Light. That's really cool too. Cool. A little too small for me to read right now. One thing, and this could be work in progress or just the cards needing a lot of space, is I missed the flavor text. It's something that I've seen in the comments a lot for Kingdoms Forlorn, is that in the digital tabletop simulator, there wasn't any flavor text, and a bunch of people, or some people were at least very actively crying out for it. I would want it back too. I love the flavor text. Some of the cards don't have room for it, which is fair, but it's... Oh, was it the flavor text or it might have been the art? No, it was flavor text for sure. They all have really cool art. So it would be nice to keep some fun flavor text going when there's space for it. I feel like these ones aren't too complex, so again, it would be pretty sweet. End of spoilers. ITU's official community Discord is here. Old Priests! Good old OP, love it. Click here. We've heard you loud and clear. You wanted a more direct way to interact with us, ask about rules and so on. Well, it's here. We're excited to officially launch the Into the Unknown Discord server, a dedicated space for all things Aeon Trespass, Kingdoms Forlorn, and Normandy, and beyond. It's not just another server, it's the place to connect with us directly. Discuss lore, participate in community contests, and get exclusive content before anyone else. You'll be able to chat with ITU team, share theories, and enjoy sneak peeks at upcoming content, including miniatures, lore, or even mechanics. Discord members will also get early access to the TTS module and a chance to take part in our upcoming external beta testing program. And if that's still not enough, we've got one more reason to join us. Every Friday, our QA team will be answering all of your burning rules questions. If you've ever been stuck on a mechanic or needed a direct ruling, this is your chance to get answers straight from the source. Friggin' sweet. I love that. That's awesome. I saw this posted in the unofficial Discord, so I did join it already too. So feel free to say hi to me in those chats as well. I think it's just Cam Coffee or something is my name. An official ITU Discord will make it easier to maintain consistent standards of moderation and communication. Having an official platform allows us to ensure accurate and reliable information reaches the community directly from ITU staff, create a more structured and transparent flow of updates, create a space for unified ITU updates and not project-based, host organized spaces for feedback, rules discussion, and community engagement. This isn't just about logistics, it's about making sure our fans feel confident in their interactions with us, knowing that they are engaging directly with ITU in a space that reflects us. This unfortunately means that we'll be rescinding our patronage of the semi-official Discord. We want to extend a huge thank you to everyone who's been part of the fan-run Discord up until now. The dedication and hard work of its members and moderators have not gone unnoticed, and we deeply appreciate everything you've built. The official ITU Discord server is now open. We'd love to have you there. As it's a brand new endeavor for us, we're counting on you to provide us with feedback and ideas. It's a vital part of how we grow and improve. Okay, last, this update is super long, but lots of really cool stuff. Last wave delivery status, Black Friday, customer support, and new hires. The last wave of ATO, that is the reprint of the core game, as well as the expansions, has virtually finished. Our customer support is moving to resolving your outstanding cases, like missing items, shipping damage, and so on. HM, revenue, and customs. Note, the operative word there is virtually. There remains a handful of UK backers who are yet to receive their orders, for which I am tremendously sorry, and something that wakes me up at night. Oh, that's... that stinks. Definitely been there with jobs before. When it keeps you up at night, not fun. And obviously it sucks that these people haven't got their names. And it sucks for ITU that this is, hopefully this isn't going to be like the legacy of this campaign. As you may have noted, a lot of UK backers have already been fulfilled. In short, the reason why this handful hasn't is Brexit. The orders that have already been fulfilled were shipped as exports because we already paid VAT on them before 2020. VAT that HMRC refused to return, making us basically pay customs on top of them. The orders that are still pending are going through the new procedure on what we've paid VAT on. To be eligible, we had to petition for a UK VAT number and we had to get UK-based accounting. We did that over a year ago. We paid VAT on those orders as they came in. And yet, when it came to actually shipping the orders to the UK, we were hit with additional bureaucracy, without which, or rather you, on receiving the orders, would have to pay that VAT again. We are now on the tail end of this procedure. I cannot give you a definitive date when these orders will start moving again because it's entirely dependent on the HMRC clerk that is handling this procedure on the UK end. I am, again, deeply sorry that you have to wait this long. It is as frustrating to us as it is to you, especially that we've been paying and fulfilling and filing UK taxes for a long time now. As soon as I know when things start moving, I'll announce it. Although once they do, you will receive your packages in 2 to 3 days. As for the future, it looks like to avoid this sort of thing, we may be switching all future shipments to the UK to a VAT-less export procedure. The other batch of outstanding orders is located in the VFI hub due to VFI's policy of shipping to some regions. We are in talks with them to fulfill those orders from our EU hub to cut down on the wait time. If there is progress on this front, I will likewise let you know. Finally, there is a delay on some Black Friday orders. This is due to a batch of resin minis having defects that did not pass our high-quality control bar. In essence, we are waiting for new casts, which are sent to us almost daily, and we are fulfilling these orders as they become available. Apologies for the inconvenience. Finally, there's the matter of the congestion of our support team. The number of tickets has been reduced significantly, but there is still some backlog to handle. I would please ask everyone for your patience. I know it's taking some time, but each and every case will be responded to and resolved. On that note, we are currently running a recruitment drive for our customer support team to bolster their numbers so another congestion in the future does not happen. Additionally, we are collecting feedback from this latest fulfillment and we will be drawing conclusions so that the next wave goes smoother. We hear you and we have our own observations too. Suffice to say, things will be changing for the better. Also, more as a general cautionary comment, due to the US trade war, some items and services may go up in price for the US. Currently, the tariffs are at 10%. However, it's hard to predict how the situation will evolve. We will work to minimize any effects of the trade war on you by bearing the brunt of it. Additionally, we will consider moving our US fulfillment back to EU, depending on what will be cheaper for you. However, if EU is also hit with tariffs, there will be little recourse. To reiterate, at the moment, nothing is changing, and we won't be retroactively changing the product prices if a change does happen down the line, just like we won't do it after our yearly adjustments. So, to reiterate, for a third time, if you already have a pledge with us or make one in the immediate future, you can put this whole thing out of mind. Okay, so a bunch of important things there for backers. Yeah, a bunch of important, some more, not doomy gloom, but some serious stuff there near the end. So let's see what we finish off with. Cycle 3 Narration App. This is the week. Cycle 3 Narration goes into certification tomorrow, and depending on Google's and Apple's speed, will be available to download over the weekend or early next week. This has been a monumental project in its fields to rival creating ATO itself. and I'm very thankful to our talented video artist, sound editor, composer, and digital team here at ITU for their tireless work, which took over a year to finish. 1 million words of game, each word of story voiced, a mind-boggling number. Enjoy. That's a wrap for today, folks. Take care. Well, yes, that is quite the update indeed. So tons of really interesting stuff. I'm glad that they addressed the stuff at the end there too. Curious to explore their Discord more. And yeah, cool stuff. Well, thank you very much for joining me. I think this, might have said this is the last one, but this is going to be the last recorded video of me in this home. And then I think next week's video, which is scheduled, will be the last playthrough of any game in this home. So gonna miss this place very much. Thank you for joining us, me, Sean, and Jordan, on our adventure playing games online and Sturford YouTubes, and excited to have hopefully a more dedicated gaming space in a month or two here. So woo, see you on the other side. Bye.